Hello, everyone. Today is January 19th, 2022. My guest today is Mark Damore. Mark is a mechanical engineer. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Mark.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
We have known each other since high school football.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time since we've
It's
last
been
seen
quite
each
a long
other.
time. Yes, it has. That was at least 10 years, 2022.
Yeah, my high school 10-year reunion's coming up this June. But
Nice.
your 10-year already passed technically.
It did. The reunion was in August. It was pretty good. A lot of people I hadn't seen for years. Actually, a couple people I met for the first time, which is pretty surprising. But
Really?
yeah, I mean, maybe I saw them before, but I never met these, I think it was just one person. But yeah, it was good for so long.
Yeah,
Kind
it's
of crazy.
pretty interesting seeing people that you haven't seen in a long time. And then, it can go both ways. It can go like one where it's like, oh, yeah, we don't really talk anymore, and that's the reason why. Or the other way, it's like, oh my gosh, we're picking up right where we left off.
Yes, the picking up right where we left off is pretty thing that happens with like friends that you haven't seen for years.
Yeah, most definitely. It's nice.
It is nice.
Mhm.
Yes. Dude, Jansen, physics class together also.
That's right. That's
That
right.
was great. There was so much banter between you, me, and Nathan in that class.
Oh yeah, Nathan Nguyen. He,
Yes.
I still follow him on social media sometimes. But yeah,
Nice.
it's hilarious. It's because I remember you didn't take the previous class. You went straight to Physics C, right?
No, I went to B.
Oh,
Didn't
you
we
did.
have B together?
I think we had. Oh, and we had different periods for C. I think.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
And you were unique in the sense that you took physics early.
Yeah, I did. And I think one of the problems with our system was that I don't think a lot of kids or students knew that you could do stuff like that. You know, they were just automatically thinking they were in the same, track throughout all of high school.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I was thankful for the opportunity, and it was definitely cool because I got to hang out with a lot of upperclassmen that were, on that kind of same page. Um,
Yes.
and yeah, and luckily, we both played sports together, so it was nice.
It was nice. That was a pretty incredible class. Like I mean, I took physics in college at UCSD, and there were things that he taught us. If I got a 5 on the electrical exam, I would have skipped this class. I got a 4.
Yeah,
And it was like Jansen, went through this stuff very in-depthly compared to my college professor.
yeah, it's pretty interesting because I think a couple of years after I started college, I remember, for the heck of it, just going back onto like AP Central or like that website where they have like all the older tests and like trying to do a couple problems. And I remember having a lot of anxiety in high school about doing these tests because they were college level exams, right? And then
Yes.
like actually going through, college and going through classes and growing up and doing all that and maturing and doing all that stuff and then going back and going, oh man, a lot of this stuff really wasn't that hard. I think a lot of it was just anxiety driven, and like, you know, this matters for my future at this moment. And
Yes.
I'm only 15 or 16.
Did you that you wanted to be a mechanical engineer when you were 15 or 16?
Oh, I think I knew I wanted to be an engineer, but I didn't even know what mechanical engineering meant. A lot of time you just hear, oh yeah, this is a buzzword like mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, aerospace engineer, and
Yes.
the one thing that I knew when I was applying to universities was that, okay, mechanical engineering is pretty broad. So it's a good degree to get, and you can get into many different things with it.
Yes, you can.
So, yeah. So I
And
didn't know, but I knew I liked to do puzzles and problem solve. And we're good at math and science, so.
yes. And how was your experience in college at SDSU?
It was good. It was really good. I got to go to school with a decent amount of people from our high school. So it actually wasn't like very isolating. I think if I could sum it up in a couple of sentences, I really spent a lot of time in college building out more relationships than just going to class. Um, and, I've always considered myself a little bit more of a, social person. I feel like I have a little bit more social intelligence and emotional intelligence than, a lot of engineers in the field as well. Um,
Yes.
so I really wanted to build on that when I was at San Diego State. I joined a lot of different organizations. I went to Greek life. That was one thing. That was the first thing that I kind of started getting into for like leadership positions. I joined I joined the Rotaract
The
student
what?
organization, the Rotaract student organization there. So it's like a subset of like Rotary. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, so it's like Rotary at like a college level. Um, where I got to get a lot of professional development out of that. I was also a tour guide at San Diego State, believe it or not. So I spent a lot of time uh, doing that and orientation. So like walking backwards, giving tours, and helping new freshmen get acclimated into SDSU before the school year started.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's Rotary?
So Rotary is a worldwide organization that is based on giving back. Um, and I'm not going to say the word community service. I'm going to say like giving back to your community or communities.
Okay.
So what a lot of it at SDSU, the way it was kind of built up was to be in an organization for professional development where, on the meetings that we would have once a week, they would bring in, professionals to talk about different areas of expertise, like how to communicate effectively or, how to learn how to invest, random things like that, that, you don't really necessarily learn in a college education. Um, so that was one portion of it. The other portion was actually signing up to, you know, go do service around San Diego. So whether it was beach cleanups, whether it was, going to build homes like closer to the border, and other like activities in that manner.
Okay. Wow. So
Yeah,
giving back.
yeah, that's the basis of it, I think.
Okay.
Um,
And
but
okay.
So what was really cool is that there's like a sponsoring club that is actual Rotary for the Rotaract at San Diego State, and in San Diego it's called Club 33. And that's a pretty big club that meets. I think they believe when I used to go to those luncheons, it'd be like in downtown San Diego, and it'd be a lot of people that it'd be cool to meet a lot of professionals that have been in their industry for a while and network that way. Definitely a good experience. And that the interesting part about all this is that all these different organizations I joined in college, I it definitely was kind of like a 180 from going to engineering class and doing engineering homework all the time. And so
Absolutely. And so you
yeah,
were conscious about, I mean, it's pretty interesting being social and trying to be an engineer. I,
yeah,
you know, you consider yourself social. I would consider you social as well. I would, I attempted to be social. I didn't really think about it though, going into college. I knew I wanted to be in a fraternity.
Hmm.
I knew also I was a lineman. So one thing was like I was a lineman in high school and I was a pretty big guy. And like first quarter of college, I lost 30 pounds immediately.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, and that was like huge because, you know, did you join a fraternity your freshman year, fall semester?
Yep, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, right as soon as school started. It's actually quite interesting. It's the same fraternity that my dad was in, just a different chapter. So he actually went to college at UCI um, back in the '80s, and I joined the same chapter at San Diego State.
Which chapter?
Phi Delta Theta.
Phi Delta Theta.
Yeah.
Nice. That's exciting. Did you know that you wanted to be legacy with your dad, or did you just happen to in like the Phi Delts?
I it was nice to meet some, different people in college. They were pretty welcoming, and I didn't really care much about what fraternity I was going to join. The whole legacy thing was a pretty big cool factor for me because I felt like I'd be able to like bond with my dad a little bit more because of that.
Yes,
Um, but it is what you make of it, right? And
absolutely.
that's a so like if you want to have like a not good experience, social experience while you're in school, or you make what it is what you make of it, right? And that's actually kind of interesting. That's something that we used to actually tell prospective students when I was being a tour guide. It's just like everyone always comes with SDSU, and there's going to be one parent in any of these tour groups that go, oh, but SDSU is like a party school, right? So like how is my student supposed to learn and like deal with all of the partying and stuff? And I'm just like, well, the basic answer to that is just like, college is what you make it. So if you want to go, spend all of your time doing social activities and not really going to class or not paying attention to your academics and stuff, that's there for you to do, definitely.
Absolutely.
But like, no one's stopping you from going to go learn, and
No,
like actually get into your degree. And there's definitely a lot more opportunities like within your major and within academics to get involved that way as well socially.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you about the purpose of college more so. I wrote an article about it last year. It
Okay.
and in that article, I made the argument that college is not about the knowledge you gain so much as about the experiences that you have
Mm-hmm.
and the growth that you have through those experiences and the fact that everyone is invested in having those experiences and they're all coming together in this one place with each other and growing together. And really that's what college was is like for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about transferring knowledge. Like it's not about giving a student a specific piece of like engineering skill that will, make them that much better in their career. There might be some tools that you teach them that they can go and take to the industry,
Mm-hmm.
down the line. But like at the end of the day, like you said, it's those social skills, it's that networking. My fraternity brothers are some of the closest people uh, am today, and we did a lot of pretty incredible experiences together for years in very formative, time. And we were all invested in that together and we were all coming, together for that.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it's a pretty incredible time. And just it's uh it's interesting. Like I that's that you had that intuition going into it. I'm sure because your dad was also a fraternity member that he communicated that to you too.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So my dad still talks to his closest fraternity brothers from when he
Wow.
was in college, and they actually all live locally to my hometown, our hometown. So they get together, like them and their wives and children. They all get together. I sometimes go hang out right when I get back home, but it's pretty interesting how long those friendships have been maintained. I think it's been over 30 years technically. So
Yes.
what's interesting is that I do have a lot of those friends that I still talk to from college, but I also do have a lot of friends from high school I still talk to, and I
Yes.
would and I would even argue that I'm still closer to the people from high school than I am to the people in college, even though I may see some of the people from college still even more so because I'm more local.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And what those people in high school, for me, those people are the fellow football players that we had. I don't
yeah,
know. Are those mostly like, or do you have people out? Because I've been saying this for years, actually, is that like and it's true, my closest friends I have today are high school football teammates, and then my fraternity brothers from college. And, I don't know, is that how it is for you?
that's exactly how it is for me. Yeah, I don't, and honestly, as you get older, you don't. I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but it's a little bit harder to make friends.
Yes.
And I already have a pretty good group of friends in both groups, from college and from high school that I talk to frequently, and I don't ever really feel the need anymore to like go and branch out to go and try to get a new friend group. I'm pretty content with what I have. So
Yes. And it's
mhm.
nice because we both went to school like far, like close but far from our
Yeah,
hometown. And like it's like you're here in, I mean, as long as we're in SoCal, like I think you probably have know a bunch of people who live in LA. I know a bunch of people who live in LA and San Diego and Orange
mhm.
County. So it's like as long as we're in SoCal, we're going to have that rich social network that we develop by joining these organizations.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, and it's cool because like you said, you have friends in different places, and so do I. So it's like if I want to go to LA for a weekend, I have a group of friends that I could stay with, even though I don't necessarily live there anymore. Um, if I ever want to stay in Orange County, I just go back to my parents' house for a little bit. So it's nice.
Yes, it is nice. This pandemic really hit home with how important that network is.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that I got a lot more into gaming uh,
Wow.
because it was an easy way to hang out with your friends and joke around um, while not having to actually go travel to see them. So,
What what games?
well, a lot of Xbox games or a lot of PC games, like right when the pandemic started, I remember Call of Duty came out, and that was where everyone was like all excited to go get back into Call of Duty and stuff because so it was like really cool to like play some of those games with like friends from high school or friends that I from college or even like new roommates I had in LA when I was living there. Um, and so like that was an easy way for me to keep up with people was through video games.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I gave up social networking um for
Oh wow.
about, yeah, I had given it up for 2.5 years. And then in May of 2020, I got back onto Instagram and I got onto Twitter in April of 2020. And it was just, I mean, it's the same thing as gaming. It's just I needed to reach out to people. I couldn't physically be there.
Mm-hmm.
And like people like to talk a lot of smack on like online communities. And granted, there is something different between online and in person. In person is very rich and very real, but these online communities can still be great supplements to the real thing where it's like all right, maybe we should all be living in a like 150 person tribe, but that's not like plausible all the time in modern society. So it's like maybe, we went back home after work, but it's like we can still, you know, talk to someone on a podcast, or, go game with them online, or like do FaceTime with some, like, say you have a significant other that isn't in your city,
Mhm.
for whatever reason, then you can FaceTime with them. And there's still like a lot of rich experiences to have through these communities.
Yeah, definitely. And we're still technically in the pandemic, and I still keep those friendships alive doing all these online activities. It's actually kind of interesting. Once like everybody started going home for work, I actually invested in a better setup for myself. So like right now I'm in my office in the house I currently live in, but um, like I bought myself two monitors, and I bought myself a VKM switch, video keyboard mouse switch, so that I can actually just quickly switch all the functionality of my keyboard, my mouse, and my monitors from my work computer to my personal computer. Um, because being at home for 12 hours a day, you know, pretty much just working, it's nice to be able to take those quick breaks, for like lunch or something.
Wait, what is this tool? This virtual, what is
Uh,
this?
so if you Google it or go on Amazon, you can buy one of these switches. It's called it's either a KVM switch or a VKM switch. It's video
I,
keyboard mouse.
I think it's KVM.
It's KVM. Yeah. And what you can do is you can plug in your monitors to it and also a mouse and keyboard, and that's like kind of like a central um, control module that will allow you to switch between functionality between like a work laptop or like a personal laptop with the click of a button. So
Wow.
yeah, so I invested in that type of hardware. Once I realized that I was going to be at home all day every day for however long this is going to end up happening, and it's made it pretty enjoyable. Not to say that like I spent all my time inside. I think a lot of people went through that phase where it's like, okay, now we're working from home, so now we actually work a lot longer, than we technically should because we don't have commute times. We don't, have lunch breaks with people, right? So people are technically working longer, um, and even harder because there's just more to do. Um, and this has presented me as a way to like be able to like switch off when I don't want to work past like 5 or 6, right? and,
Absolutely.
and just go and like do my own personal stuff. um, yeah, but I mean what I was going to get to is that like it was definitely hard to get up and get moving and exercise when the pandemic started because obviously you want to try to stay at home the most you can, but also it's like what am I supposed to do? Like I can't go to the gym anymore, so I'm going to try to go out for a run and try to avoid people. So
Absolutely. Were you in LA during the beginning of the pandemic?
yeah, I was. And it was about when did the pandemic start? Was it like March of
March
2020?
13th. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was about 3 months into living in LA. So I was living at home and commuting to LA, and that was about an hour and 10 minutes in the morning, and about almost 2 hours coming home. And
That's
it's only 50 miles, right?
yes.
But
It's a heavily populated 50 miles.
yeah, and after 3 months of doing this commute, I was like, I need to go find a way to live in LA closer to the office. So, luckily, it worked out with some old friend from college that was looking for more roommates. So I got to live with him and meet some other cool people doing that, and it was only 15 minutes of side streets to the office at that point, and I
That's
loved it.
huge.
And even with that, only with 15-minute commute, like my productivity went up. my happiness level went up, like work got a lot better from that. That being said, it's kind of interesting to like think about all the people that started new jobs during the pandemic and like didn't get to like actually like meet people in person and kind of establish like a rapport with them and like understand like, oh, this person's like a sarcastic person and like you can joke around with them, or like this person's very serious, or this person's like, you know has certain like little things to them that you can kind of work through. um, so I always question myself. It's like, how are the people that started new jobs that are work from home full time still after starting this job, like how are they doing?
I'm one of those people, and I honestly, it hasn't affected me too much in the sense that there's some things that are different. Like when you're in the office, you are directly like, if there's going to be a conversation, you're going to be a part of it. And I have noticed that being remote, there can be conversations that I'm not a part of, not aware of that's going on, that if it was in the office, probably would be more in my face,
Mm-hmm.
which is a good thing. It
Mm-hmm.
can be distracting if I've also been in an environment where there may be too much in my face, that it's like, there's so many different things going on in this office that it's like very difficult to just, shut it all off. So
Mm-hmm.
there are pros and cons. But as far as going to what you said, a lot of people are still, pretty themselves. Like, I think, for people like you and me who are a little younger, who've lived a little bit more of our lives on the internet, we're
Mm-hmm.
more open to being ourselves online. And even,
Mm-hmm.
I can't even say this because there are, people that I work with that are 60 plus years old that are, more outgoing and more personable
Mm-hmm.
online than even like the youngest people who are under 20 or 30 years old. And so it's like, I think as far as your, how are they doing? Like, I actually, people I feel like are going to be who they are, at least this is what I found, are who they are. And it's, if they want to be an individual who shares, stories of their family, or, they want to be communicating a lot, or they want to, ask questions, they'll do that. And then there are also those individuals who are like, probably just more, they don't speak so much, but they don't speak so much about
Themselves.
themselves, and they're
Yeah.
just there talking about, the work that they're doing and how it's going. And so, and it's it's really like what you said at the beginning for college. It's, what you make of it. If
Mm-hmm.
you want that job to be more personable, which I have found, like when I was in an office job, actually I was more closed off than I am today, because in my online job, because it's just, I don't know, things have changed so dramatically in the last 2 years that it's kind of a new way of thinking too. It's like now I'm in a point where it's like I don't really mind sharing things about myself, turning on the webcam in a meeting. People who
Mm-hmm.
turn on their webcams in meetings are like the saviors of the meeting, because it's like, dude, I'm telling you, it's like, if you are willing to turn on your webcam in a meeting, you have a lot of power, because 90+% of the other people are not going to do that. And we still need some human entertainment in front of us when we're having this meeting. I think it adds a lot of value if a person does that.
That's pretty interesting, that you say that, because I'll admit I'm one of the people that doesn't turn on their webcam, and that's mainly because I dress pretty comfortably around the house, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Um, but it's kind of it's an interesting topic, and I'm kind of appreciative of your aspect to it because I don't really have the same outlook on it. So it's kind of interesting to like see that different point of view. Um,
What's
but
your
I mean,
outlook?
well, my outlook is like if I'm gonna kind of try to be that very friendly person in a meeting or like when I'm meeting people online. Like if I have never talked to someone, at work and I need to reach out to a certain, group to like get some information or to work with them for something, I'll try to be, as nice and, forthcoming and, cheerful when I first meet them, just so that it makes them more comfortable to be able to talk to me and like meet me. And I do that because, I don't really have a problem, kind of like getting a little bit more personable and like trying to find a quick common thing to talk about with someone so that like it makes them more comfortable. Like I can do that pretty naturally, so it's nice. I'm fortunate enough to have that ability. um, but going back, it's like I'm not one of those people that turns on their webcam, but I'm also like pretty used to not having people on the webcam anyways, because all throughout my career, anytime I was on a call, it wasn't really webcam anyways. Or anytime I was in an in-person meeting and we had to call people from another facility or something or another company, we got pretty used to just chatting on the phone.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that there's that much value added in like true value, like in transferring that knowledge.
Hmm.
When I think the webcam brings more entertainment, like just
Hmm.
value and more personable aspect of the value more so than any actual functional value that's going to increase the engineering
Yeah.
accomplishment
Yeah.
or whatever accomplishment, whatever, we're both engineers, so that's why I say
Mhm.
engineering, but whatever the task is at hand.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I'm still based out of LA for my job, but with the whole work from home thing, I got the opportunity to actually move down to San Diego, back to San Diego, because went to school here, had a first job here, then kind of bounced around, and I was in LA, and now I'm back down here, so I get to hang out with some of my old friends again, and I really enjoyed like living here for all my collegiate career. So
Absolutely. This place is pretty great, San Diego.
yeah.
I mean, I know we're Southern Californians, but you know, a lot of people left California, and there's a lot of
Oh
talk
yeah.
about the, state of the state,
Hmm.
but it's still like a pretty incredible place to be. And, you know, the rest of the country is going through some pretty, intense weather
Hmm.
situations, and we're here. It's like 65 degrees, sunny
Yeah.
today.
With our
Still
fake tsunami warnings.
fake tsunami warnings. I mean, that
It's crazy. It's crazy. I
what?
was I was in Hawaii in early December. And I went to the actual Hawaii, like the Big Island. And the first thing I hear from my Lyft driver as I'm driving from the airport to the hotel I was staying at was, out of all the climates, in the world, this island has all of them but two. So like, I don't think there's like 7 or 8 different climates. I'm not sure, but it was crazy because one part of the island can be like super cold. The other part of the island will be desert. The other part of the island will be like monsoon weather. Like, and I was sitting there thinking about California and how like, we don't get weather change at all. We don't really get
No,
seasons. And
not in SoCal.
yeah, but when I was there was actually a blizzard warning
Wow.
in Hawaii. And it wasn't, I think it was more targeted towards, there's dormant volcanoes in that island. I think it was more targeted towards the top of those volcanoes, but I have never heard of a blizzard warning in my life. and it was
Oh,
actually raining a lot more than you think it was in the island when I was there. But
wow. And this was just a month ago or so?
yeah, it was early December.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was snowing on those volcano tops?
Yeah, it was, and that equated to a lot of rain in the rest of the island, or just parts of the island where I was in. But
Wow.
yeah,
Hawaii is a pretty crazy place.
yeah, I've it's definitely different. They it was definitely a lot more difficult to travel there than you'd expect. They make you sign up with the I think it's like the local governing website to make sure that you're vaccinated and that or you're exempt or whatever to get your status on that. And then before you even get on your flight, you need to go get a wristband from your airline to like show that you passed all these like criteria that you need
Wow.
to go in Hawaii. But I think that makes sense because they have so much traffic from different places all the time.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, no, it was a cool experience. I'm glad I got to go. It was like my second time ever going, and it wasn't even to the same island both times. The first island was Oahu with my family when I was like 13 in the eighth grade. This time was kind of cool because I was actually of age and like could go to the bar and grab cocktails. And go enjoy everything as an adult. So it was nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference in types of vacation you can have.
Definitely.
I mean, 13 is a you can't do anything at that age. But even,
No.
anything that you're going with your family is going to be a little different than if you're going with your buddies. And if you're paying for it yourself,
Yeah.
it's like you're just like, oh, okay, I'll do whatever I want at this point.
Yeah. No, it was nice. I don't want to sound unintellectual by saying this, but I honestly don't read books that much. I do a lot of reading in general, just like at work or like you know
Yes.
just looking at random stuff on the internet. But like I actually read it through a whole book, you know,
What
on
book?
my trip. It was a book, and this was like a month ago. I went through it too quick. It was a book about a cop in San Diego dealing with some past trauma that he had as a child. Um,
Is this a fiction?
yeah, it's fiction. It was kind of more of like a murder story, and it was cool. And I went through that book in like 2 days because I had so much downtime there, like with all the traveling and I was like sitting there going like, man, like I really forgot how nice it is to just plug out and like actually read like a hardcover book. You know?
It's very nice.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
first position outside of college was it required a lot of international traveling.
hmm
So I took 10 plus hour flights at least, 10 times within a span of like 20 months. And
Yeah.
um, more than 10, maybe 20. So it's like that. I didn't really realize how much I appreciated. I mean, doing flights is pretty gnarly, but like in those, I read so many books. I didn't even read before that. And I had a coworker who was a reader, and then he got me into, kind of promoting reading. And I read so many books during these traveling periods. It's like, okay, I have 10 hours of flight time. Let me
Oh,
read a bunch of books, a bunch of this book. And it's really nice. It's like it's tough unless you're in that situation where you have time that is going to be wasted for whatever reason. And like if you have a book there, it's going to be a lot, you're going to have something.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I used to be one of those people that just kind of listens to music when I travel, but I've stepped away from that. Like I like to actually just stick nose in a book now. So it's nice.
Yes. Well, I still like the music, but not for the whole time. It's
Yeah.
like it's too much now.
Are you like a person that can like sleep on planes?
No, not really. I mean, I sometimes can, but not like a person that's like, yeah, if I'm on a plane, I'm out.
Like you can knock out as soon as you sit down.
I,
I'm like that at times. I can change if I want to.
nice.
Yeah.
It's definitely an enviable skill to have or
Mhm.
trait.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I haven't done much traveling other than that. Like the whole last couple of years. I don't really
Yes.
think, work might be, asking me to travel sometime here soon, but I doubt it with all the craziness and stuff.
Okay. Well, would it be probably domestic?
Yeah, it wouldn't be international.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We're 22 months into the COVID-19. I mean, technically we're over 24 months since COVID has been released in,
Yeah.
but since it's taken a huge, public image and huge cautionary processes, it's been about 22 months.
Yeah,
And
I think the thing that really got to me about the whole um, pandemic was, it used to be so natural to like go outside and go exercise or go get groceries or do random other things, go get your car washed, actually just getting outside of the house. And I think that a lot of people realize that, like, since you're kind of staying at home more and now it's more convenient to order things online to come get delivered to you, or even like food, it's pretty interesting that a lot of these basic things that we used to do, like get some sunshine for like 10 minutes a day, whether you're just going to go out, like that started ending up becoming as something that wasn't so natural to me. So like there'd be days where like I actually just kind of camped out at home because it was convenient, and like
yes,
that affects your mood a lot, right? you know
absolutely.
and it almost feels forced to actually like try to go out and do things now for me. But like I've learned to like kind of get back into the swing of things where it's like, okay, yeah, you know what, instead of like ordering like you know something from Amazon, like I'll actually go out and get it at the store.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. And for me, I got a dog about a year ago.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I did.
Oh,
And it's a huge, sometimes I, travel, like I've gone to Mexico twice and I've gone on a couple hunting trips. And during those times, I leave the dog with my parents. And it's like, there are times where it's like, I realize she keeps me honest because like I got to go for a walk in the, at the first thing
yeah.
in the day. Today I had to go out for a couple hours because if she's not out for a couple hours, she'll go insane. And in
Hmm.
reality, I'll go insane too if I'm not outside. So it's
Yeah.
like I got to force myself to be, and when I'm outside, it like we're at, and like that's a huge thing for me because I actually live by myself, so that alone, being by yourself and then working by yourself, it's like, no, I need some form of being in this house
Hmm.
to like keep me company. And also, like I said, she keeps me honest, and I have to, spend a couple hours outside today and it was great. I needed that. I spent the whole morning inside, it's whole morning in front of a screen, and then in the afternoon I spent 2 hours, being at the beach, reading and not being in front of a screen.
Yeah. No, that sounds great. Like that sounds like a great day to have like on like on a Wednesday, or like in the middle,
Yes.
generally in the middle of a work week, you're just like actually just sitting in the office. But no, that's
Yes.
great. Yeah, I think a lot of people have also, it sounds like you have grown into having more like hobbies since the
Yes.
pandemic, and I think that a lot of people have also done that. And even like I talk to people I work with who are also engineers, or just like, yeah, I bought myself like a 3D printer, and like I've been like designing my own things, or it's like, I've like really learned to work with my hands like over the pandemic, So I think that's pretty neat. I'm not really like that, but I think you know I have my own hobbies, and I think the most important thing to me is actually just trying to stick to like working out and eating better, and like that really
Yes,
kind of affects my mood a lot. So.
absolutely. And for me, at the beginning of the pandemic, and not just the beginning, a couple times throughout this pandemic, I've gone through periods of stress eating. And
Hmm.
it's like, especially the beginning, like April and May of 2020, I was just like, I'm gonna eat whatever. I'm not even going out to see people. It's like
Hmm.
I'm cooped up in this house all day. I'm just gonna eat delicious, and that's gonna be that because this is the only outlet I have. And it was terrible.
Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people that went through that exact same thing. It was kind of interesting for me was that I actually kind of had a little bit of the opposite happen to me, where it's like now that I'm like not going out as much to go these social activities, now I actually have time to like focus on like keep to like a cleaner diet, and like, so I was actually pretty thankful for it.
That's awesome.
uh, yeah, it was nice. I got pretty into my fitness as soon as the pandemic started, and then after 2021 started, I kind of dropped, and then I kind of yo-yoed throughout the whole year, because I think we were all starting to like get itchy to like go hang out with people. So it's like during the middle of 2021, I'd go and like try to make some trips to go see old friends and things like that, if it was permitted. But
Yes.
you know,
And that whole thing was kind of stressful too, not knowing if it was going to be permitted, not knowing if it was going to be all right to travel, and not
hmm.
knowing if the person that you wanted to, not wanting to impose the fact that maybe, we're pretty low risk for
Hmm.
dying of COVID. And so
Hmm.
we were more willing to take some risks, but some people were not. So like there were times where I didn't want to impose my lack of seriousness towards this disease as much as, like, some people, this was their like whole, I mean, some people are still like this, very very adamant about guarding themselves against COVID-19.
Hmm.
I have been pretty relaxed about it nearly the entire time relative to a lot of other people. But I didn't want
Yeah,
to impose that laxness on them by asking them if they wanted to get together.
yeah, and there's definitely a balance to it, and I think
Yes.
that it's not healthy to be so far one way or the other, you know.
No,
So,
it's
but
not.
yeah, maybe
And you
2022 will be better.
2020, I thought 2021 was a great year. How was that year for you?
It was honestly, I think I had a better 2020 than I had a 2021. I definitely got a lot more professional development done in 2021. I got promoted at work. I got into grad school. A lot of milestones that are going to be affecting me for the rest of my life happened in 2021. But as like in general, as like from a sociable aspect, it wasn't a very good year. It was a struggle to go see people. It was also a struggle to mediate between like friends who are adamant, like you said, about not going out, or friends who just don't really care. Um, I'm not very very one way or the other. I'm very like, let's gauge the situation. Let's try to be as safe as we can be, given the circumstances. So yeah, I mean, I will say I hope that 2022 will be a lot better, and like getting out there again, and um, hanging out with people and being more comfortable in that situation. But I mean, yeah, no, 2021 was definitely a growing year for me.
Okay.
You know.
You got into grad school?
Yeah, I actually just started last week. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
What grad program and what
So
school?
I'm getting a master's in mechanical engineering at USC.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is it online?
It is all online. Yeah, so it's interesting. The lectures are the professor basically writing down notes on a notepad and, going through concepts and stuff. And then that video gets posted online so I can review it later along with, you know, um, copies of the notes that he took. So it's actually pretty interesting because I get to like actually, if I want to step away for like 10 minutes while I'm in class, I still have all that information available to me. Um, it's going to be kind of interesting to navigate how like the tests work and like how working in group projects works, but I think it's pretty good right now. I wasn't really excited about going into school again. I graduated from college at 2016 and it's 2022. So it's been 5 years, 5.5 years since I was in school.
That's a
Um,
long time.
yeah, but I think that I'm a lot more mature in the aspect
Absolutely.
where it's like I'm not gonna spend my time procrastinating as much as I used to. If like I'm gonna set time aside to actually just learn the material and get it done, and I think I have a better, more positive outlook on academics now that I'm older.
Absolutely. And for me, I've been considering going back to grad school,
Hmm.
and for for me, I just know I'm much more committed to it, and my mentality approaching a classroom and approaching a professor and approaching like a department is going to be so much different than my approach 10 years ago,
Yeah.
because 10 years ago I cared much more about socializing with people that were, you know, cared a lot about socializing. And now, like you said, you've done that, I've done that. I have different where I can get that if I wanted even more socialized aspects. But I'm going to, like, you're going to college, you're going back to grad school, I'm going back to grad school
Hmm.
specifically. Yeah, I might go back to grad school specifically to network with people that are in that field, to
Hmm.
network with people that understand the career path that we're going to go down the next 20, 30 years, and people that are pretty dedicated to what they're doing. And maybe it would be nice to network with them so that maybe we can help them out one day, hopefully, because
Hmm.
we want to be in a position where we're you know subject matter experts on whatever it is we're doing, and they could also assist us one day in some whatever way it is possible.
Yeah. So I have like two things to expand on from that. So one, getting into grad school was a little bit easier than I thought it would be. My plan wasn't going to start going to grad school now. It was actually to start next semester for fall 2022. Um,
Wow.
but I was really starting to get into being more serious about it around like early September in last year in 2021. So I started looking around and poking around applications, and I realized that I wanted to go to somewhere like USC, um, and because I kind of liked what the programs courses looked like, and the networking opportunities that you also do get from going to that school. Um, and I was looking at the application, and they waived the GRE because of COVID. So it's
Wow.
like that was one of the predicaments I saw myself getting into, was having to study pretty hard for a generalized, standard test, right? And having to
Yes.
score that. And that was really, I was getting reluctant to even do that. And then, so they waived that. And then, luckily for the programs that I applied to, they weren't looking for um, letters of rec. They weren't required. So all I really had to do was just brush up my resume, write a personal statement, and kind of just fill out the rest of the information and just send in my apps.
Wow.
Yeah,
The
so
letters of
I got into 3 different programs. It was like magic, and I was sitting there going like, I wonder if it was because I've been working so long, or it's just, like on paper I look that good. So
nice. That congratulations. That's exciting.
thanks. Yeah, no, I'm super excited. That's why I'm on like the first day of school high right now. Like
Yes.
I, but it's and then the other thing I want to say is that the demographic of the classroom for this first engineering class I'm taking is very stereotypical of like what we see in undergrad. It's a lot of the first thing is that it's a lot of people who are just done with um, their undergrad. So it's they're probably like 21, 22, 23. And the second thing is that there's definitely not a lot of women in the program either, unfortunately. And even in undergrad, I remember seeing very very little. And it's sad that after all 5 years of not being in school, the demographic is still stayed the same. It's crazy.
Absolutely. I remember counting up the number of women in a class I had of 90 plus.
On one hand, right?
No, there were 7, so it was 2 hands.
It was two and a
But
half, 1.5.
it was like 7 women in a class of 90 plus for an electrical engineering class, and it's like, I mean, that is, I've come to take that as par for the course now. But it's still kind of weird that we're that like you would go talk to your biology friends in biology courses or friends in literally any other discipline,
Mm-hmm.
even like maybe not mathematics and physics. I have no idea. I didn't talk to too many math majors, but most other ones, it's like the demographics are much more split, possibly more in favor of women. But engineering, computer science, I felt was a lot more balanced than
Mm-hmm.
electrical and mechanic. Electrical for us was just easily the highest concentration of men.
Yeah.
I think structural had a little bit more females, and then I did take a lot of computer science courses, and I do have to say that the the split and the ratio of women to men is much higher in
Yeah.
computer science than it was in traditional forms of engineering.
Yeah. No, it's crazy how it's still like that, but yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so it's pretty interesting going back to school. I'm still trying to get the hang of it while balancing work full time and a personal life. So
Absolutely. That's a lot of responsibility on you now.
yeah, yeah, and but it's nice, having a background and working, for 4 years, 5 years since I left school after graduating undergrad. So I think eventually when I'm right now I'm like kind of like I'm like in a math class, so it's like really not I'm not really like going to be using any of the tools I've learned over the last 5 years. But I think once I get into more specialized courses, it's going to be nice to have like a different perspective than a lot of the people who are just new grads that are going straight into grad school.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think, I even noticed this in, my undergrad studies. There were people that were taking these undergrad courses that were literally over 10 years older than me,
Yeah.
maybe 13, 14 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And they were much more dedicated to what they were doing. I was actually a little jealous because like they were dedicated, they were getting decent grades, and I wasn't dedicated at all and wasn't getting decent grades. But it's a huge difference because like I'm 19, they're 30 plus, or what, some of them were 30 plus, and it's just like understandable why they're not taking it in the same way as you are. Like you're, and same as you with those other 22, 23-year olds. And personally, like I know where I was at 22, 23.
Mhm.
I needed some work in the industry. If I mean, there are other people. I don't know, were you a lab student? Did you participate in a lot of in a lot of labs within your engineering department?
Classes, yeah, but not extracurriculars.
Okay. I knew one or two. I knew a few engineers who did that, and that was those engineers were very intelligent because, I wasn't thinking in those terms. I just mostly wanted to, party, and then I had a side job as well. Not party, but I wanted to socialize and party, and mostly did not, and just skate through with the grades and the engineering. But
Yeah,
now that I'm like in industry, now that I've been working for 5 years, I can look back on those experiences and realize, wow, I probably should have been immersed within the lab environment. And if I were to go back, that's what, for me, it's like I have that perspective now. And I think you are probably approaching your master's degree in a much different way than you would have if you had done it in 2016, right after you
yeah,
graduated.
yeah. No, I can fully admit that I spent more of my undergraduate career out of the classroom and getting involved different ways. But and it's interesting because I had a good enough GPA after my senior year, but close to no hands-on experience. I didn't have an internship leaving college,
Me neither.
so it was all you really have to go off on your interview for your first position is is this a bright kid? Is he
Yes.
is he respectful? Are we going to is he worth allocating all the time to train? You
Yes.
know,
Are we going to regret training? Are we going to regret bringing him on? Like, is he going to leave in 2 or 3 months?
yeah, that or it's like now that I've been working for so long, I hear stories of like people at my level that are like annoyed with junior engineers because they don't have the work ethic, or they don't have the patience, or they just don't under they're just not technologically adept enough, and it's like I'm sitting there going like, man, I feel kind of old now because that's probably, you know, uh, that's probably the way that some people were looking at me when I was interviewing, like so it's definitely I will say that I you got to be a sponge when you have your first job. You got to really
Yes.
soak up all the information you can, and people are going to know it's okay to like not understand things for months, for years, right? um, but as long as you're trying and you're not really messing things up, it's it's pretty good. I really got some hands-on experience as to how to understand and think like an engineer in my first job.
In what sense?
Like how things are built. My first job was a manufacturing engineer, at a 3D printing company, and you know customers would come to us and they were like, hey, we need this built, and you, I would be the person that would come up with ingenious ways on how to build these products that they were requesting us to make for them. And I also got to get a lot of experience on a shop floor, and understanding how, and even doing some of the work myself sometimes. So that was pretty cool, and I'm thankful for all that experience that I had today because it still sets me apart from other people I work with. Some of the people I work with have never been on a shop floor and just like see the world through CAD, like 3D modeling, when in reality I can like think about it and be like, oh well, that's not going to really work like in a real environment because that's actually impossible to make things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's seeing that applied engineering is really invaluable. Like you said, I do a lot of work on the computer with a lot of software based systems. And it's not the same as being on a hardware based, for you it was floor, for me it was a hardware systems engineering environment
Hmm.
where you integrate some systems and then see it actually installed at a location,
Hmm.
and where you're manufacturing and seeing the process from design to production.
Hmm.
That, I mean, what your experience sounds like invaluable, like something that a person would
Yeah.
get in a lab. And you can now go into CAD design, you can go into your master's program, like for your group projects in your master's program. If someone's going to be like 21, 22 years old, it's like, I mean, I remember doing group projects in my senior year of college, and my approach to it at that point compared to my approach to it at this point, for so many reasons, whether that be just my social IQ, for sure, my social IQ, but then also seeing work processes, like understanding different sorts of teams and how different sorts of teams run and how different sorts of team management processes affect the output.
Hmm.
And you can go into that, and I think give loads more experience than someone who is going into their masters immediately after. I mean, maybe they have some solid internship experience,
Yeah.
but internships, for 3 months, I can't imagine it's going to be the same thing as working in a
Oh no. Yeah, you're not gonna get
in
like any project management experience or you
no,
know or be a leader at all. You know.
no. It's going to be, yes, much more difficult to communicate even in any way.
Yeah. 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 But man, yeah, like you said, that experience was invaluable, and I'm thankful for it. And it really set myself up with all that knowledge to get to where I am today. And I've now in like the grand process of things, like you said, from like design and implementation all the way to prototyping and through production. I'm actually um, going backwards in the chain. I'm actually more in design now for with my current position. So it's interesting because I have that experience from the middle side and going towards the end and I'm applying that when I'm doing all this work in the beginning.
How is the work in the beginning compared to your previous types of where
Well,
you were?
a lot of the work I do now is more imaginative and starting from scratch. So we have these requirements to design something and build something, and we'll spend months, years really thinking about it methodically, doing analysis, doing all this extra work. And then once the design's done, you move on to the next thing, you move on to the next project. When you're more in a manufacturing engineering position, you're going to be taking that stuff that was designed and actually making it and then trying to make it sustainable for years to come as you're building more and more copies of it. So in a sense, I think it's a little bit more of a flashier title for myself, um, and a lot more exciting for myself because I get to actually apply some more imagination than taking something that's already designed and working with it.
That makes sense. So
Yeah.
you have more creativity involved with what you're doing now.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's, there are trade-offs with every job. You're
Yeah.
not going to get I that personal hands-on experience, but then this design that you're doing, this creativity that you're implementing within engineering, that
Mhm.
is, that's debatably more valuable. I mean, it's not as easy, and it's not as, sometimes I think working with hardware, it's just kind of more natural for us. And I like it because I like, being off screen and doing some work with my hands. But still, this design aspect, you do design within a CAD based system. I do design within a SysML, system modeling
Mhm.
language. aspect, and it's important. I mean, it matters, like how these things come together and how
Yeah.
they're come produced out like that. That's more important than the production of it. I mean, we need to execute on the production of it as well, but that is a little bit more straightforward than
Yeah.
the design is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think more importantly, what's really keeping me at this current position is the environment. The work environment at the company I'm currently at is fantastic. You know, one of the things that they really focus on is making sure that you're being challenged and you're content with the work. You know, you shouldn't they don't make it so that you're afraid to speak up if you don't want to work on something. Um, and I think that's really valuable. And not to mention, I'm definitely with peers that are also pretty intelligent and challenge me all the time.
Yes.
So that's I think it's a blessing, and I think that's mainly the reason why it's keeping me here.
Being surrounded by people that are pretty intelligent, and you can
Mhm.
just understand by the way they're speaking that they, are thinking very critically and
Mhm.
doing some solving some pretty tough problems.
Yeah,
It's pretty rewarding to know that you're running in the same not social circles, but running in the same professional circles as these people.
yeah, no, it's great.
It is. Wow. So, Mark, are there any last words that you'd like to speak about engineering or leadership, or, progressing in one's career or even development, personal or professional?
No, not really. I think I got to kind of explain a little bit about my experiences the last 10 years since we've hung out. But
Absolutely, dude.
yeah.
Hopefully we can hang out, before 10 years from now.
Oh my God, we're 10 minutes away from each other. Now that I know this
Yes.
information, we can definitely get together.
Yes, dude. Maybe we'll do like a beach day over in La Jolla or something.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty close. So,
Great. Well, my guest today has been Mark Damore. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Mark.
thank you so much for the invite, and good luck with the rest of them.